Hello everyone, Juxtaposition here. Today's video will be entitled Ron DeSantis Assault on the First Amendment, referring to the the United States Constitution, which nobody's read. Very few of our young people have read the Constitution. Very few of our older people have read it either. Anyway, what I wanted to tell you is that there's this document called the United States Constitution that is not applied in maritime law courtrooms. So if you spend time, I mean like dozens of different sessions in a maritime law courtroom, you'll realize that the judges in the black robes, they don't know what the Constitution is, and they don't care. It's not relevant to being a member of the bar, which is a guild, it's a cult, it has an emerita code, and everyone who is deemed officer of the court status within a department, that's what they're called departments, the judge's chamber, the bailiff, which is the county sheriff, the attorneys who get to walk in front of the rail, which is the bar. That would be your district attorney, assistant district attorney, defense lawyers, or litigants if it is a civil law case. Civil matters, there's civil court, there's criminal court, there's probate court, right? And there's family law court, and then there's traffic court. But anyway, in all of the courts, you're going to find yourself in a bench trial format, meaning no jury. 99% of the time, it's not going to be any jury involved in proceedings in a courtroom. It's just going to be between you, the judge, and the attorneys. Lawyers cannot speak in a maritime law court. Okay, solicitors cannot speak. Barristers and attorneys are permitted to address the judge, address the court, and have their words typed down by the stenographer. A lot of people don't seem to know these basic principles. Anyway, I want to remind everybody that today is about the First Amendment of the United States Constitution, which is not in play. You do know if you open an account at YouTube or um, at Twitter X or any one of the military platforms, you're going to find rather quickly that your videos can be deleted without notice. There's no appeal process, and that you're not free to say whatever you want. If you say anything to incite a riot or to be construed as a domestic terrorist, your video not only will be deleted, but you may get a visit from your local fusion center or NATO um, FEMA camp guards. Freedom of speech, which is the ultimate guide to your First Amendment. The right of free speech is fundamental, and it is an important aspect of the First Amendment, which guarantees that the government or centralized authority cannot stop you from speaking your mind or punish you for your views that you may express. This right is a powerful shield and it protects your ability to criticize powerful and protest changes, worship as you choose, and even say the things that are deeply unpopular, including curse words. You are permitted to curse out police officers, your city mayor, your city council, your county board of supervisors. You can curse them. That is permitted within the First Amendment as validated by the Supreme Court of the United States. You can curse out public officials, public servants who may be on power trips. The First Amendment's protection of free speech is not unlimited. It does not protect speech like inciting riot or encouraging people to violence, defamation, or true threats, which are considered unprotected speech. So you see, there isn't a room for interpretation here whilst you're cursing out your local sheriff's deputies. If they think that you're going to attack them, then they may be justified in shooting you dead, right? We've seen that before. The government is barred from limiting communications in many different settings, including the presentation of visual arts, your signage, um, your performances, singing, songs, poetry, reciting poetry, and or filming. You're allowed to film in public places. Yes, you are. You are allowed to film the police whilst they arrest or detain another citizen of your Hunger game. All right, protected speech can also be embodied in the symbols that do not specifically say anything but can convey a point of view, right? All right, so anyway, I'm going to provide a link below to that. As part of the First Amendment of the United States Constitution, and in addition to free speech, you also have stipulated the right to free assembly. The right of free assembly is a fundamental civil liberty that's protected by the First Amendment of the Constitution. It allows individuals to gather peacefully for collective expression and advocacy. Well, that's not true in real life. That's true on the prop of the Constitution. If you wanted to organize a group of people in your local park, if a neighbor or a ring camera should report you to the Fusion Center, your sheriff's deputy may arrive over there, and the first thing they'll ask you is, do you have a permit to organize a rally in the park? Yes or no? And the answer is going to be no, because you'll be told to disperse and to go down to the city hall building and just like taking out a dog license to apply for a permit, date and time for your assembly in the park, which the city will most undoubtedly deny your permit. They'll allow a permit for barbecues or art festivals, but not for free assembly to discuss political matters or the smart meters in your yards and the ring cameras and the pollution in the sky, the airplanes in the sky, which your city council will deny that there is an airplane dumping problem, but then they will not allow a permit to discuss it. Also, you should know that in the state of Maryland, they are requiring basically a real ID verification to enter a city council meeting or a board of supervisor meeting or board of education meeting. So, county meetings, school district meetings, and city council meetings are now prohibited unless you provide a real ID to a person who will run your name and address through a minimum of three different surveillance databases to see if you are a domestic terrorist or someone who is unwanted to sit and listen to your government in play. That's going on in the state of Maryland in 2026, and it will be coming to your township soon. Okay, so in other words, not only can you not get into a courthouse without going through the metal detector, not only can you not get into a courtroom unless you have business with that court or your name appears on a list as a witness, or you're a family member of either the plaintiff or a litigant or the victim or a defendant, you're not getting into a courtroom. You're not going to see the judge. You're not going to see the attorneys, and you're not going to see the behavior of the bailiff. You're not going to be allowed. The courtroom's doors are locked and they're kept locked. They only open briefly to allow the initial group that's assembled in front of the court department. They let them in, and then every single person that's admitted to the courtroom is interviewed by a little woman, a short, petite woman with a clipboard. She wants to verify who you are and why you're present. Otherwise, the bailiff will invite you to leave under threat of his 9mm Beretta pistol. All right, the definition and legal basis for free assembly allows individuals to come together in groups to express their views, advocate for causes, and to address grievances against the state authority, the government. This right is enshrined in the First Amendment, which states that the right of people for peaceful assembly and to petition the government for redress and grievances. All right, this clause has been interpreted to protect the rights of those to assemble, the right to petition, and recognize the importance of a democratic society. Well, we don't live in a democracy, and we most certainly don't have a democratic society. And I'm sorry to report that there isn't a single policeman or sheriff's deputies that understands anything to do with the right of free assembly. They see everything as a domestic terror attack. They're trained on crowd control and how to disperse groups of people. That's where the training is at the law enforcement. Law enforcement is trained specifically to disrupt and disperse assembly. They're not taught anything about celebrating it or enshrining it in any such document that they don't read called the Constitution. There's a historical context here. And I'm going to just move on to the Fourth Amendment, which is completely been deleted from our Constitution. The Fourth Amendment of the United States Constitution protects individuals from unreasonable search and seizure by the centralized authority government. It ensures the right to be secure of your person, your houses, your car, your papers, and your effects. It establishes that search warrants must be issued based on probable cause and then supported by an oath or affirmation that these statements are true. And they must specifically describe the place to be searched and the specific items to be seized. The amendment is fundamental in the safeguarding of personal privacy and liberty against arbitrary government actions. All right, you do know that the Fourth Amendment has been completely steamrolled from the day it was printed. All right, police have so many different ways to get around the Fourth Amendment. You know that the Fourth Amendment was installed really by people like Thomas Jefferson, Benjamin Franklin, because it's to protect criminals. In other words, insurgents, people who object to our government and central authorities, and they want to change it. But the government, central authority, of course, is like the AI, the artificial intelligence. They're willing to commit murder in order to not make changes. In other words, the government, centralized authority, what I call Swiss bank authority, is unwilling change. It wants to assert its dominance upon the prisoners within its hunger game. And they see any kind of resistance to authority as domestic terrorism. So the prison, just like your county jail, they have the right to search your cell without notice anytime they want, even at 3 o'clock in the morning. And look under your mattress and look behind the toilet and look in the little corner pockets of your cell to see if you have a shank or a weapon or if you have some notes that you're keeping and you're hiding. They can then seize those notes and they don't need a search warrant in the county jails. No such thing as a search warrant. All the searches are warrantless. You have that effect in your neighborhood now. We have ring cameras. There's no warrant, no search warrant for your ring cameras. That means your conversations are recorded without a warrant. Your geofencing, your cell phone records, you're walking around with or without your phone. That's being recorded now. All of your activities of daily living are being recorded by your smart meters, the ring cameras, the drones over your head, the LED street lights, your television, your wireless router is monitoring your movement within your home, your wireless router and your LED lights and your smart TV. They are able to tell when you go to the bathroom, go to your bedroom, go to your den, go to your wine cellar. That's being traced, tracked, and targeted within your home. And when you leave your home, then you're being picked up by wireless networks within your neighborhood. All right. This is all within the construct of the Fourth Amendment, which protects you from the right of unreasonable search and seizure. But I'm telling you, as a practical matter, in 2026, in smart neighborhoods and places like Manhattan, New York, uh, everyone is being traced, tracked, and targeted and mapped. That information is available to your fusion center, which all major cities have fusion centers now, including many rural towns have fusion centers now, and you're all subject to warrantless searches. If someone takes your property, then it would be an unwarranted search and seizure. Also, they have the plain view doctrine, and anything that looks illegal or suspicious can be seized without a warrant. They also have knock and talk, knock and announce, and can storm their way into your home if you're foolish enough to open the door just a crack, that they can then storm into your home under the plain view doctrine. All right. Now, we have Ron DeSantis, who is a phony, fake governor of the state of Florida. You do know that Ron DeSantis is fake. All the governors of the 50 states are fake, 100%. Because you know why? There's no such thing as states. There are 12 banking districts in the United States, with a 13th branch in Washington, D.C., that's called the Federal Reserve Bank, which is the consolidation of all the 12 district banks. All right. Ron DeSantis is a person who went to Yale University, then he went to got Harvard to get a law degree, then he joined ROTC Navy, um, the branch of the Navy, joined the United States Navy, went to judge advocate school, became a judge advocate for the United States Navy, and then was sentenced. He was assigned to Guantanamo Bay, Cuba in 2006. Ron DeSantis was representing the prisoners who were arrested without a warrant in Guantanamo Bay as they were being tortured with enhanced interrogation, meaning enemas, force feeding, sound, uh, light deprivation, food deprivation, forced feedings, and Ron DeSantis pretended to be the lawyer for the torture victim. As part of the Biscuit team, in case you don't know, that's the behavioral sciences team that has a medical doctor to make sure that the torture victim doesn't die. It has a psychologist who can register whether the patient is being truthful in an interrogation. And it has a pseudo lawyer in the form of Ron DeSantis, and then it has a CIA representative to look at the overall operation. So the Biscuit team consists of a lawyer slash attorney, judge advocate for the maritime law, and a psychologist, and a medical doctor, and a CIA supervisor. That's your Biscuit team, behavioral science team. And then after half a year of Guantanamo Bay, Ron DeSantis was transferred to Fallujah, Iraq, as part of the Navy SEALs team, where he performed the same techniques of faking out the prisoner to being the prisoner's judge advocate lawyer to make sure that the Geneva Convention rights are not being ignored or trampled upon, where the prisoner was given enemas and force feeding in Fallujah, Iraq. Got it? So today, where are we? Well, Ron DeSantis is in the news today because he just signed Florida legislation which bans Sharia law and deems targeting domestic terrorism for Muslims. However, if you read the text of the law that the governor just signed, it is actually called House Bill 1471. I'll provide a link. It's entitled Systems of Law and Terrorist Organizations. And while the news media has labeled this law against Muslim factions of domestic terror, to prevent them legally from forming, it is really targeted to community colleges and universities so that students cannot peacefully assemble without paying a fee and stating and stipulating the reasons that they intend to organize on a college campus. Just like I told you about your local park, you need to get a permit, you need to pay a fee like a dog license to assemble, and you need to stipulate the hours you're going to speak, and the city government, or in this case, the college administration office, must agree that you have the right to stand on a milk crate with a megaphone with a public address system and gather a group of students around you to discuss various topics like human augmentation, CRISPR, DNA modification by Jennifer Doudna and Rachel Horowitz, smart dust attacks by Christopher Pister and Joy Weiss of Analog Devices and University of California, Berkeley, and Frankenstein monster experiments performed by Jamie Kate and Jennifer Doudna at the Innovative Genomics Laboratory at Berkeley, located at 2151 Berkeley Way off of Phoebe Hearst Avenue. If you want to discuss that at the Cal Berkeley campus, you'll need to pay a fee and get permission. What do you think the probability is that Cal Berkeley will issue you a permit to speak for 90 minutes in Sproul Plaza in front of the Campanile obelisk? What do you think the chances are they'll let you criticize a Nobel Prize winner, Jennifer Doudna, who the university chancellor is appointed to be the chancellor of biomedicine at Berkeley? What do you think the chances are that they would allow the students of Berkeley to gather to criticize Jamie Kate, her second husband, or Jennifer Doudna, who is the chancellor of biomedicine? Or what do you think is the chances that they'll let you criticize the chancellor of University of California Systems, all 9 campuses? The answer is zero. You will not be granted a permit to free assembly on the campus, even though it's a public place. The University of California is a public school, and the Sproul Plaza is part of public property, but it's being treated like private property for the Department of Energy, because you do know that the majority of money that is collected by the University of California Systems comes from the Department of Energy and DARPA and the RAND Corporation and the College of Corporations. But the Department of Energy being the dominant money laundering facility to finance the research of weapons being done on college campuses. And by the way, this is done at Princeton University, Massachusetts Institute of Technology, Harvard University, Stanford University, and other universities like Tulane Research University in New Orleans. What I want to tell you is if you read carefully through House Bill 1471, Systems of Law and Terrorist Organizations for the state of Florida, you're going to find that Ron DeSantis is effectively shutting down First Amendment and rights of free assembly and free speech on university and college campuses. That's what this is all about. And that's, look, we already have that. This existed during the COVID hoax operation. You couldn't get a permit to talk about, non-vaxxing. That would be unallowed, right? Everyone agreed that we all need to get vaccinated and no one is safe until everyone is safe. That was the law of the land, right? Which completely trampled over the First Amendment, is that no dissent is permitted. So we already have this. So I just want you to know that Ron DeSantis hasn't done anything new or innovative here. It's just signs and symbols, is that you have no free speech rights, you have no right to free assembly, and most importantly, you have no right for protection against unwarranted search and seizure. You have no protections. The Constitution's a joke. It's a punchline. You should know that Ron DeSantis went to Yale and then he got a Harvard Law degree and then he went into the United States Navy and became a judge advocate under maritime law. And then he became a torture expert in the year 2006 and 2007. Then he became United States House of Representative for the state of Florida in the United States Congress. And the next thing that happened in 2015, his 30-year-old sister, Christina, died under mysterious circumstances, I believe at the Charing Cross Hospital, just off of the River Thames, the Victoria Embankment, which houses the obelisk, the Eye of Cleopatra on the Victoria Embankment. Christina Marie DeSantis died. She died in the hospital. They're saying that she maybe died of cancer. She was 30 years old. She died in the city of London on the west bank of the River Thames. She was 30 years old. She was engaged to be married to a banker, a man who dominantly had a private banking, money laundering background, a money laundering banking background. Now, when I say money laundering, I'm not joking around. Okay, I'm deadly serious. Her fiance bank is the seventh oldest private bank in England, and it's paid millions of dollars in money laundering fines and pled no contest to money laundering crimes within the city of London. It also, has branch banks in all the money laundering places in the world, like the Dutch Antilles, for example, and Grand Cayman, another example, is it's I have it here and it just disappeared. The Coutts and Company British Private Bank. Now it runs under different names. It does business on the Isle of Man, which is another money laundering zip code. It operates in the Channel Islands. It operates under the name of the Royal Bank of Scotland International Limited, and it's the seventh oldest bank. It was founded in 1692, which is approximately 50 years after Harvard University was established in Cambridge. Harvard University is another money laundering facility. Harvard University has never wavered in their charter. They were created in 1639 to create clerics and civic leaders. And in 2026, they're doing the same. Look at the people they've produced: Steve Bannon, Daniel Ellsberg, um, Jeff Skilling for the CEO of Enron. He's a criminal, right? Jamie Dimon, CEO of JP Morgan Chase. He has an MBA from Harvard. Jennifer Doudna, she has a PhD from Harvard. She's a criminal. She's biomedicine chancellor of Berkeley, and she's Frankenstein monstering people without a warrant, without permission, without search and seizure, Fourth Amendment right consideration. And she's conducting NATO weapon attacks, hacking into people's body using CRISPR-Cas9 technology. Zug, Switzerland, London, England, Boston, Massachusetts, and Mission Bay, San Francisco, and her own lab, the Doubtnall Lab, located at 2151 Berkeley Way, one block off Phoebehurst Avenue. All right. So anyway, I want you to know that the fiance of Christina DeSantis was a banker for over 6.5 years in London. Now, at the time of her death, Christina's death, he was working for a major media company in London. Christina Marie DeSantis died in the hospital in London on, looking here for the date, May 12th, 2015. She died. And Ron DeSantis hasn't said a damn thing about this for years. Now, he's made some vague comments about it recently, but generally speaking, it remains a family secret. You should know that Ron DeSantis's father was in the intelligence business before the fake governor of Florida was. Ron DeSantis's father, whose name is Ronald, I believe that's his name. Let's see here. Let me get this straight. So Ron DeSantis's daddy, his name is my computer's all locked up here. Uh, yeah, his father's name is Ronald Daniel DeSantis, as opposed to Ron Dion DeSantis, who was born September 14th, 1978. He's 47 years old. He has the same birthday as Amy Winehouse. His father is Ronald Daniel DeSantis. Um, his father worked for the Nielsen television rating companies, where they install boxes on selected people's televisions to then monitor their privacy as to their watching habits, their listening habits, and it's all very creepy invasion of your privacy, right? And the Nielsen Holdings Company is the owner of the Nielsen Media Research Company, which spies on Americans who are paid a fee and are given free cable so that their television habits can be monitored, and Lord knows what else. Now, you do know that everyone's television habits are monitored today. As long as you're on the internet and you have a wireless router, all your emails and your text messages and your browser searches are monitored now. You don't have to be part of the Nielsen Holdings research. They'll just do it without a warrant. Did you know that? They don't have a warrant, but they'll do it anyway. Stephen was the fiance of Christina DeSantis when she passed away in 2015. And he's a piece of work, let me tell you. And his bank, the Coots, it's called, what is it called? Coots and Company. It's hard to know what it's called. It's called Coots and Company, but it operates under the Royal Bank of Scotland International Limited, and it has other names it goes by. But it does business in the Channel Islands, Isle of Man, Grand Cayman, and it money launders felony crime activities. And that's just how they roll. But not to pick on Coots and Company. I mean, That's what all the major banks do, right? That's what Blackstone does, BlackRock does, Bank of America, Swiss banks, all Swiss banks, Union Bank of Switzerland does. That's what Credit Suisse does. That's what the World Bank does. That's what the International Monetary Fund Bank does in Geneva, Switzerland. They all money launder, and they have a know your client, know your customer policy where they want to know everything about you, a person who opens an account at a bank, but they refuse to tell you anything about themselves. That's the know your customer clause, is that they want to know you, but they don't want you to know them. They don't want you to know if they're vaccinated for monkeypox, bird flu, COVID, boosters, Omicron, none of your business, right? Do you think Jamie Dimon is vaccinated? Do you think Jamie Dimon understands what smart dust is? I don't know. Do you think Jamie Dimon has syphilis? Do you think that the president of the World Bank has gonorrhea? Do you think that? They're not going to tell you, right? They're not going to tell you if they're sick or contagious or are part of a pandemic. No one is safe until everyone is safe. They're not going to tell you. So the whole idea of know your customer and real ID verification is, of course, a lie, right? It's about tagging and tracing you like a farm animal. That's what it's about. It's about being able to murder you at any time without notice. It's about milking you under the harvesting program, human harvesting, which is what Jennifer Doudna is involved with CRISPR Therapeutics. It's not about therapy. It's about control, pacification and control of farm animals on the plantation. So I wanted you to know that Ron DeSantis yesterday signed a bill to prohibit the Fourth Amendment right to free assembly on college campuses, and that he is also violating your First Amendment rights to free speech, free assembly. And Florida already has a problem with the Fourth Amendment warrantless search and seizure. Even on traffic stops, they will attempt to evade the Fourth Amendment and search your car without a warrant, which is totally illegal under constitutional law. But since we live under military martial law, which is called maritime law, and we have a governor of California, I mean, a governor of Florida who is a maritime law judge advocate for the United States Navy, for crying out loud, that Florida is 100% under maritime law, which means there's no such thing as warranted seizures and searches. They just do it, right? The captain's in charge and we follow orders, and we follow orders or people die. It's just that simple. I'll provide links below. I hope you enjoyed today's video. Do like and share my videos with other people you may know. Since I am heavily shadow banned, my videos are not promoted. So the only way I can grow my channel is subscriber by subscriber, one at a time. Thanks so much for listening. We'll talk soon. Bye bye.